if they start, for example, a nuclear war with Russia, that those Christians who start that war will be lifted up into heaven and the war will be fought, and after the war is fought and humanity is destroyed and Jesus comes down and fights all these wars, there will then be a new utopia where they can come and live, and they'll live in peace. So it's kind of a very selfish belief which leads them into self-destruction, which is also very much what happened to the Armenians. The Armenians were duped by Jews into a form of Armenian Christian Zionism. So I should correct myself. I actually have studied it in the phase of the Armenian Genocide, no, not in the phase of modern society. The Armenians were taught that if they helped the Jews by sacrificing themselves, by sacrificing millions of innocent Armenian lives, that this would provoke wars which would break apart the Turkish Empire, and then the Armenians would be able to form their own Armenian Empire after the Turkish Empire was destroyed and partitioned. So again, it was the promise of a utopia after a massive sacrifice and after a great deal of destruction which would pave the way for a new utopian society.
Could you talk about Reverend Filion, who predicted the genocide in 1895?
I believe that Reverend Filion was actually a traitor, and he made amazingly accurate predictions that could not have been made individually, let alone collectively, without foreknowledge. He predicted the overthrow of Kaiser Wilhelm II. He predicted the overthrow of Sultan Abdul Hamid II, and he predicted the overthrow of the Russian Tsar. All of these things were amazing predictions which he made in 1895. And he also predicted in 1895, though there were Armenian massacres going on, he predicted that millions of Armenians would be killed. He also predicted that there would be a Jewish Holocaust. And he justified these things as if they were good things, because he said that this would lead to the War of the Apocalypse, which was the First World War. It was often referred to there as the war to end all wars, the War of the Apocalypse. And he said that at the conclusion of this war, there would be an Armenian nation formed, and that all Christian nations would bless the Armenians who had sacrificed themselves, and that the Armenians would become the new chosen people.
So those were prediction or prophecies, he said, you think?
He specifically said that he was making predictions and not prophecies. He said that these were things that he knew. He expressed himself somewhat cryptically, but it was very clear that he had foreknowledge. He must have been associated with the people who initiated these plans.
Mr. Björkens, since we have only 5 more minutes left, tomorrow's meeting is very important. Could you elaborate on the points that you are going to talk about before we finish this tonight?
The most significant thing I would like people to come away with from my presentation is that the Armenian genocide happened. It was not caused by Turks or by Muslims, but it was caused by crypto-Jewish Dernmei and by Jewish financiers who had a Zionist agenda to establish the state of Palestine as a Jewish colony. I also would like people to realize the political motivations for the cover-up, which is taking place and which has taken place for 92 years of the Armenian genocide. And I want them to ask questions. I don't ask them to accept everything that I say on face value. I ask them to investigate it, and I hope that they do, because it's going to lead to more and more evidence and new facts which prove beyond any doubt that what I say is true.
On tomorrow night at 7:30, we will have the lecture, and you're prepared. Thank you for coming to Los Angeles from Chicago for one day tomorrow, and hopefully a lot of people will come and listen to you. If you have a few more words to say for your last words before we close the program.
My last words would be to the Armenian community that you have a right to demand that the truth be told about your history, and to not be intimidated by people who are going to try to smear your leaders for telling the truth. I would also humbly suggest to the Armenians that there is a political crisis in Armenia today, where Armenia is being led into conflict with its neighbors, chiefly Turkey. and that this is not going to help Armenia survive demographically or economically, and that by learning the truth, you can begin to heal the wounds which exist between Turkey and Armenia and create better society both for Armenia and for Turkey. So this will lead to a very positive outcome, as it should. And also to remember that this is simply the truth. There's no shame in telling the truth. In fact, you can come to understand what has happened and why you're in the situation you are in by making a historical critical analysis of what happened during the fall of the Turkish Empire and the motivations of those who perpetrated this great crime against you. And you can also learn many important political lessons from the cover-up which is taking place to try to hide these political facts, because you can see from the motivations of these forces how they're trying to bring Armenia into another disaster. And you can prevent it, and once these truths gain momentum, you will be standing on the side of the victors, and you will be standing on the side of right. So have courage and face it with courage and realize that you're ultimately going to win this fight.
Thank you very much for coming and sharing your thoughts with our audience.